Swati madam, please proceed, madam.
Yes, sir. Hello everyone, welcome back. Reaching to the next session, let me take the privilege to invite Srimati SSSN Usha Devi N. Srimati SSSN Usha Devi N is working as Assistant Professor in the Department of University College of Engineering, JNTU, Kakinada. She has published 58 research articles in various international journals, conferences, authorized 4 textbooks related to AI, and published a patent on IoT. Her research interests include deep learning and NLP. We welcome you, ma'am. We are eagerly waiting to listen to you from your research. Thank you.
Thanks for your introduction. I'm going to share the presentation now. Is the presentation visible?
Yes, ma'am. Can you please put it in slideshow mode?
Yes, I'm going to. Is it clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon to all of you. I'm going to start my session on text analytics AI perspective. In this session, I would like to focus on these aspects: introduction to the text analytics overview and applications, application strategies and case study environments, challenges and references that I have used to prepare this presentation here. So what are the outcomes of this session? So after the session, the participants will get the idea about what is text mining, what is text analytics, and what are various concepts and tools and techniques and methods used in this text analytics and text mining, and how to visualize the results of the text mining and text analytics. So before going to start all these subject to things, first of all, I would like to give an analogy of how this text analytics is helpful in day-to-day life. If you take one example, here I have taken one example. How do you purchase a product? How do you purchase a product? So in general, suppose if I want to purchase any product like mobile or washing machine or any TV, any new product, okay? So initially, I would like to discuss with my friend or with my colleague. So sometimes with my family members, and sometimes I may visit the reviews in the website like Flipkart or Amazon. Just look at what is the rating of the product. Suppose if we consider mobile phone, somebody might give 3 stars, somebody might give the rating as 5 stars. Okay, let it be. After saying that, I might not get satisfied with such a rating. I would like to see what are various text reviews written for the product. So if I go through the reviews, there are many reviews for that particular product, maybe 1,000, 10,000 like that. Randomly, I picked up some reviews, 5 to 6, and I have seen those reviews are good. I have seen, okay, I can purchase a product. But the point is, in selecting these 5 reviews among 1,000 or 10,000, I'm ignoring the other reviews, right? I'm discarding them. Maybe those reviews might have some important information regarding the quality of the product. So for this purpose, manual analysis is not required. So some automation is required to analyze the text, which we discuss in this text analytics concepts. But in the part of text analytics, it's an AI technology. It uses NLP to transform the unstructured documents into structured documents for analysis purpose. Derive conclusions, it uses ML and DL algorithms. And here, what kind of outputs we can expect from text analytics? So text categorizations. Suppose Here I consider a newspaper information. Okay, so text categorization means, so by reading, by seeing the sentence, whether it is belong to the sports news or whether it belongs to any business news, that's called text categorization. Sentiment analysis, in the particular news, whether they are saying about whether they are saying good thing about the particular topic or bad thing about the particular topic. Later we see one case study sentiment analysis in next slides. Text representation, how to represent this text, in which form, whether it is word form or term form or any phrase form, paragraph form. So how to represent this. Next, deriving statistical inferences. So here I can derive how many sports competitions or sport activities happen in this month, which can be derived from the sports news in the news, right? That's a statistical inference. Finding the patterns. So for example, I can say that there are lack of hospital facilities. Somewhere I have seen in the newspaper lack of hospital facilities to treat these patients. Somewhere I can see that there are COVID deaths are increasing. I can correct these patterns. Lack of hospitals and lack of doctors or services. Is COVID deaths also increasing due to the not treated? That means due to the lack of treatment. Finding patterns and knowledge discovery. So also the same thing. Some kind of information we can derive by applying this text analytics to the given information, given data. So from that data, we get the knowledge after processing that information. After that, text summarization. So a whole paragraph from a big paragraph, we can extract few lines which are very important. That also brings the connectivity among all the statements as like the big paragraph. That means comprehensions. Okay, shorten the paragraphs. Okay. So these are the various outputs we can expect from text analytics. So if you observe this natural language processing concept, it deals with, here we are talking about the text analytics uses NLP, right? So NLP, what is NLP here? This natural language processing deals with the natural language as well as computer science methodologies. If you observe the words text analytics, data analytics, many people are going to ask what's the difference between the data analytics and text analytics. So data analytics means it mainly focuses on data, deriving the conclusions from the data, but it never bothers about what kind of language it is, right? But here in the NLP text analytics, we deal with the linguistics. The language that we deal is also important. It carries importance. For example, what kind of conclusions we can derive from text? This is one example of a tweet taken from Twitter API, extracted from Twitter API during the lockdown time. Okay, I'm not mentioning all the details here. I'm just mentioning the text here. You can observe the make it easy. Make it easy. That's a message. Make it easy. Protect yourself. Protect yourself and others with these life hacks. So there are some steps here. They mention some steps here, and this is a message in the Twitter. Okay, by seeing it, what kind of inference we get, whether it is positive thing or negative thing, what kind of thing it is. So definitely we can conclude that it is a positive thing, something good they are telling about, some instructions they are giving, how to protect yourself during this lockdown time. Okay, from the COVID. So this is a single message. Suppose if the messages are, that means at one unit of time, there will be many messages in the Twitter transferring from here and there, right? From one point to another point. So if you extract all those information and all those tweets, and if you apply the text analytics, you will get good inferences. Whether people are with positive attitude towards this lockdown, or negative attitude towards this lockdown. So this kind of inferences we can derive by applying the text analytics to the data. Okay, to apply the text analytics, first of all, we need to mine the data. So what kind of sources we have? So we can mine the, here I have given for examples, you see newspapers and social media. There is one more organization. Within organization also, we can collect the information and personal information. Suppose if you consider the news data, if you apply text analytics to that particular data, then you will get inferences like what kind of activities happen in this last month, or what kind of conclusions we can derive, like regarding the COVID I explained, right? In the previous example, in the same slide, the previous slide. So that kind of inferences we get, whether it is stock values are high or low. Okay, is there any political change within this month? Drastic change in the business within this month. So this kind of inferences we get. If you consider social media also, some aspects, some social media aspects like the political changes or anything like the people interest in lockdown time. So what kind of thing, various activities done by the people during this lockdown time, that can also be inferred. And if you consider one organization, within the organization, what are employees' behaviors towards the CEO, what kind of things they are sharing regarding the company, that kind of aspects can be analyzed. And if you consider this personal information, what kind of investments I am doing, what kind of loans I have taken. So based on that data also, every time, how do I feel about my data, my savings, my earnings. So all this can also be analyzed. Analyzed using the text analytics. So what are we need to use NLP techniques here for the analysis purpose. Then we'll get some conclusion in the form of a document or in the form of a visualization. There are a lot of visualization techniques available in Python, Matplotlib. So we use those techniques to get the visualizations of the results. Next, coming to the point of various applications here. There are a lot of applications, as we discussed before. Sentiment analysis is one important application, and summarizing paragraphs. User emotion analysis. For example, how to understand a particular user behavior in a social media. Because as he shares information every day, right? Whether he is in stress mode, or he is in happy mood, or he's having positive attitude towards life. This kind of emotions we can understand by analyzing that kind of text specific to the user. And topic modeling, tagging, document filtering. So all these things are the applications of analytics. So there are various major companies that are going to use this text analytics. IBM SPSS text analytics, IBM Watson natural language understanding, which sort out the game Jeopardy game, Google Cloud natural language API, and Microsoft Azure. Major companies that use the applications of text analytics. So how to apply the text analytics? Okay, before going to apply the text analytics, before going to know this topic, text analytics, first we need to mine the text. Mining means we need to extract the information or data from some particular sources which are required, and after that we need to apply various methods and tools in the text analytics part. Then we need to visualize those results. So his visualization also carries a lot of prominence in text analytics. Let's come to the point of the sentiment analysis case study. So I have taken a sentiment analysis case study. So what are various concepts involved in the sentiment analysis? What are various packages available to deal with sentiment analysis? Here I'm talking about Python environment, Python packages. So I have taken the Python environment here. So Python packages available, and if that is a machine learning approach, how to perform the sentiment analysis. If that is deep learning approach, how to perform the sentiment analysis. So how to visualize the results. Coming to the point of sentiment analysis. So what is a sentiment? In a classroom, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay. Is my voice is okay?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay.
It's clear.
If you consider the sentiment analysis, if you consider, suppose if we take a classroom environment, we used to collect the feedbacks from the students, right? For each subject. Student, suppose if the classroom is 16, the students are always having a different opinions about a subject or about a teacher who taught the subject. So some people says that it's good. Some people says it's not up to the mark. So there are a lot of opinions. So how to consolidate them? All those are called sentiments. How to consolidate them? Sentiment analysis never deals with only 3 or 2 classes. It might vary from 2 to a number depending on the type of application. If you consider the user moods, definitely it will be like many, right? User mood. Sometimes the person might be anger, sometimes the person will be happy, sad, and some different types of moods the user might have. I have seen the 16 emotions. There is one Glassow emotion analysis. It shows 16 mood changes in the user. So there are many according to the psychology, okay, human psychology. So if you consider this kind of class environment, it might be like 1 to 5, right? Poor, average, good, excellent, very good, something like this kind of categories. So categories might vary depending on the application we need to choose in that way. So sometimes we take if we take the movie review, like it's okay, good, bad, it's also okay depending on the case. So in generic aspect, these classes might not affect that much, but if you have anything like you need to take a great decision based on the sentiment, then the classification is also very important. Sometimes a minute change, suppose if you take the stock exchange, a minute change in the sentiment will affect more the investments. Okay, it may lead to great loss or right, get profit also sometimes, right? So the classification is very important. Here I mentioned some classes of sentiment. It's also called opinion mining, where the people share their opinion about a content. Like the movie review, in movie reviews, people just watch the movie and they will give some kind of rating or some kind of review to the movie. So that is considered as opinion of user. So it is also called opinion analysis, depending on the context. What are various sentiment analysis concepts? So tokenization, clearing, stemming, lemmatization. Coming to the point of tokenization. So all these are sentiment analysis concepts. Prior to the sentiment analysis, we need to be We need to be familiar with this kind of concepts before performing the analysis. So tokenization. So tokenization means we need to divide the total sentence into parts, whether it may be words or phrases. So here I have taken one example, a sentence. The natural language processing is a subset of artificial intelligence. Okay, it is divided into set of tokens. Okay, here I have taken the delimiter as space. Hence I got these words. Okay. Sometimes I can extract the phrases also, depending on the application. So it may be either, I can take either word or I can take phrase also. Here I am taking only the word, so I have used the word tokenizer here. This is a NLTK, and what here the NLTK represents natural language toolkit. Natural language toolkit. This is one helpful API which we can import in Python for the text analytics purpose. So here I got these words. Okay. So after tokenization, next come at the point of cleaning the text. So if you want to divide it into any specific phrase, then also you can divide this. But this particular tokenizer is going to tokenize in this format only. You can change the delimiter there. You can change the delimiter, semicolon or dot symbol. Based on that, it's going to tokenize. Let's come to the point of cleaning the text. After tokenization, we are cleaning the text. So it might be cleaning the stop words, or cleaning the symbols, numerical values, specific strings, short words, duplicates. So what are stop words here? Depending on the language, stop words are also going to vary. So if I am dealing with the Telugu language, the stop words are different. The text is different, right? So stop words are also different. Depending on here I have taken the English as a reference language. So stop words are like the articles and prepositions. I'm considering them as stop words because I'm not dealing with the semantic here. If we deal with semantic, again, these also plays important role. So depending on just sentiment analysis, I'm talking about sentiment analysis. I'm not considering the stop words, articles A and the like that, and prepositions also. To, for, of, like that. And consider the symbols. Sometimes there will be unnecessary symbols when we tokenize the input because it's not a structured information. Suppose if you consider the Twitter data, that's somewhat unstructured only. They will write some text, right? The tweet will be in the form of some text and we extract the text. And in that text, there will be unnecessary symbols, unnecessary numerical values, unnecessary words also. It consists of some short form. Somebody will write yo-yo. There is no meaning for that word, and we can eliminate such words. We don't consider it usually. Okay. Suppose if you want to include this emoticons, the smiley symbols also, we can include those symbols. Those symbols can be included, but I'm talking about the special symbols like dot or a semicolon. This kind of symbols won't carry any meaning in the sentiment analysis, especially in this case. So we can eliminate that. And next, come to the point of numerical values also. So there is some information like the COVID number of patients, that means number of deaths due to the COVID is something like 20,000 in this month. Suppose that there is there in the information. That 20,000 can be eliminated here. Okay. Otherwise, we can keep some restrictions like if the data related to this particular information is greater than this, then I can substitute that value with high or low, something like that. That's why a lot of analysis is required, how to sort out a specific problem. So all this sentiment analysis is specific to application we need to study. And coming to the point of specific strings, again, somebody says, somebody can keep like yo-yo, something like, then we can eliminate that kind of thing. High also we can eliminate, that won't give any good thing here, right? It won't carry any prominence in this sentiment analysis. So specific strings can also be eliminated. But suppose somebody mentioned that the US indicates uppercase letters, two uppercase letters indicates United States or United states, then we need to substitute those abbreviations with full forms, and then only we need to process. Otherwise, the important things will get eliminated. So depending on the application, suppose if that is a news application, definitely such kind of words we can see. Yes. So that kind, depending on that, we need to add the abbreviations and add the full forms to that, those short forms, and then we need to process. Otherwise, those strings will get eliminated as short word. Okay. Short words is unnecessary words. Suppose single letter word or two letter words. The articles, prepositions will be eliminated in the stop words phase. Even though those are eliminated, there might be some short words which are unnecessary that can be eliminated by keeping certain constraints on the length of the word. So if you don't substitute the words with the full forms, then US will be eliminated in the short words phase. That's why care needs to be taken. Suppose if that is a WHO report, World Health Organization report. So throughout the paper, they talked about only WHO and its activities. If you remove the short word of length less than or equal to 3, then that WHO will be removed. That's why initially you need to substitute. We need to substitute the letter with World Health Organization, then only we need to remove. As considered duplicates. So in certain cases, we don't consider duplicates, but in certain cases, we need to consider duplicates, depending on the application again. So throughout the paper, if I would like to know what is the important topic, then I should not remove the duplicates. I need to consider it. Throughout the paper, it is talking about WHO, World Health Organization. So that's the main topic here today. Okay. So if I remove the duplicate, then I don't get the frequency of the particular word. If you want to retain the frequency of a particular word, then I need to carry out without deleting the duplicates. But in some cases, we don't need these duplicates. So depending on the type of application, we need to take a decision on these phases. Coming to the point of stemming. Even though we have a lot of data, sometimes the words might get repeated, like play, playing, play again, play. Like the forms, different web forms may be included in that. So we need to substitute the web forms with the root forms, with the base forms. So simply we need to keep play there. Okay, play, played, playing. So we need to keep only play there. Otherwise, it cannot be counted. Right, it cannot be counted. 3 places we are just using only single word and it forms play. To count that, definitely we need to convert all the words into their root forms. So for that purpose, we use the stemming. Stemming removes and replaces the suffixes to get the root forms. So there are 3 types of stemmers here: the Porter stemmer, Snowball stemmer, Lancaster stemmer. I give an example of this Porter stemmer you can see here. So the natural language processing is a subset of artificial intelligence. That is the main sentence here. So after applying the Porter stemmer, the words are extracted, the base words are extracted, and it's mentioned that the NHUR and language and process, you observe that the natural is not as it's not giving the meaningful name right here. Similarly, artificial, similarly the intelligence. That means Porter stemmer is not suitable for this particular sentence, right? So that's why we need to apply different stemmers, and let's see what is suitable for this statement. A snowball stemmer And some problems in Porter stemmer are eliminated in Snowball stemmer. Depending on the language, we need to use a stemmer also. We need to change that stemmer also. And Lancaster stemmer is have very strict stemmer rules. Coming to the point of lemmatization. Okay, this is one way of extracting the root word, and lemmatization is another way of extracting the root word. So it uses the word net. It uses the word net. Here, if you observe for the same example, you can see the lemma. Every word is same as the original word. So you can implement this in Python. You will get this output if you implement this. So every word is same as the original text, right? Original exactly, right? So it is a lemmatization. Okay, we have a stemmer, and we also have one more concept called lemmatizer. So what is the difference between the stemmer and lemmatizer? The stemming follows a step-by-step algorithm to perform the stemming on the words, but it is somewhat faster. Whereas the lemmatization follows a word net, which consists of a database of all the semantic relations, the words. So it already knows, it's already well trained on the word net. Hence it identifies the exact lemma for the given word. So if you observe for that particular for the previous sentence, lemmatizer is most suitable when compared with the stemming. But what happens is lemmatizer takes some time to load the word net because it's very big in size. So after loading the word net, then it needs to apply this lemma. Okay, that means by seeing the dictionary, we are writing the name, so it will be in that way. That's why it takes somewhat time consuming. Okay, if you want to optimize the speed, then definitely we go for stemming. So coming to the point of packages, there are many packages available: sklearn, Keras, NLTK, TextBlock, Genesim. So as I'm just specifying this sklearn for the training and testing purpose, I also included this one here, training and testing purpose, and Keras to model the deep neural networks, find the data. sklearn is to divide the data into training and testing sets and apply the algorithms. And after that, to compute the accuracy of the model that we developed. So for that purpose, we use the sklearn. And Keras is one API that works on TensorFlow. These are two new words I am uttering here. Keras is one API used to model the deep neural network that I mentioned previously in the deep learning approach. And after that, NLTK is one toolkit which enables us to use all the different methods applied for this NLP, natural language processing. And TextBlock is also the similar one. Genesim is also the similar one. Here these three used for text analytics purpose, and here these two for training and testing the model, and also to evaluate the model. And Keras is to model the deep neural network. So these are the packages I am using in next few slides. So coming to the aspect of ML approach for sentiment analysis. Here I am considering the movie reviews database. So there is one IMDb movie review database. Okay, it's very huge database, and how to apply the sentiment analysis on the movie review database. This is the concept. So initially we tokenize the words, we can tokenize the reviews, right? After that we apply the cleaning, we apply the stemming or lemmatization to make it into some group of words. Okay, so after that, how to apply sentiment analysis? So here I have taken the sentiment analysis approach as naive-Bayes classifier, which is a very standard classifier, popular one. And after that, the results can be viewed in the graph model. So this is the formula for naive-Bayes classifier. What is the label of the given text? It is equal to the probability of text by label. It means label is given. What is the, suppose the label is positive. What is the probability of text being positive? And after that, P of label and divided by P of text. Let's see one step by step. The Bayes classifier for sentiment analysis is a lexicon based approach. Here we observe each lexicon, each part of the sentence. The classes are positive, negative, neutral, which I have taken here, 3 classes. So initially I made the probability of positive, negative, neutral equal to 0.33 only. Okay. The base 0.01 is missing here. So I considered 0.33. So after that, how to identify the review class? So for that, initially we need to find out a review being positive. For that particular calculation, we need to identify P of T1 by positive, T2 by positive, Tn by positive. Okay, what are this T1, T2? So all these are words in the review. Okay, so T1 by positive, T2 by positive, Tn by positive, and so on. This should be calculated first, and after that, after calculating this review by positive, then I need to multiply with P of total positive values. Okay, then only I will get the positive by review. A review is given, and what is the probability that is a positive review? If a review is given, the meaning of this statement is, if the review is given, what is the probability of the review being positive? Review is a positive review. Okay, let's see one example. Suppose there is a case, same sentence, Titanic is a wonderful movie. Okay, so as per the procedure, we apply all the pre-processing strategies and we extract only the important words, right? So I extracted I got this 3 important words: Titanic, wonderful, movie. Okay, so how many entries are there for a Titanic? That is 340 entries are there. The total positive reviews are 1200. Total positive reviews in the data set are 1200. And what is Titanic by positive now? Total positive are 1200 and Titanic is 340. Titanic occurred in 340 places. 340 by 1200, that is 0.28. This is the probability of Titanic by positive. So similarly, I didn't give the intermediate steps here. Similarly, P of wonderful by positive, I have taken 0.22 and some probability for movie by positive is 0.02. So once we got these values, then so what is the probability of a particular review to get a positive sentiment is P of review by positive into P of positive. So P of review by positive means we need to identify all the terms, right? Terms and its positiveness, right? So for Titanic, it is 0.28. Okay. Here there is 0.22, 0.22 and 0.02. So this should be 0.22 and 0.02. Then this value is 0.33. So total we get 0.04324. This is the value of a review to get a positive sentiment. So in this approach, we need to identify the sentiment of particular statement using Bayes classifier. Okay, this is the approach. So what is the limitation here? So if you apply the naive-Bayes method, it treats all the words independent Okay, and hence computation complexity is reduced. Here we have taken that Titanic is independent of Wonderful, and Wonderful India is independent of movie, but sometimes they both might occur. Some movie might be wonderful movie. For some movie also we got a review like wonderful movie. Then both words are dependent, right? They're occurring together. So that kind of thing is not considered here. Okay, that's why there is some limitation. So relation between the words should be considered to improve the accuracy of the classifier. So it is not exact, even though the Bayes classifier is giving the almost accurate results in sentiment analysis. Depending on the application, it is going to vary. Where the interrelationship between the words is plays crucial role. So in such a cases, it's going to fail. Not completely, but it will give some less accuracy when compared with the other techniques. Is coming to the point of DL approach to the sentiment analysis. So again, we am taking the same review database, and the steps are tokenization, cleaning, stemming, or lemmatization. The process is same. This text mining process is same. Applying some pre-processing techniques and identifying the suitable data to train the model. Okay. Here, coming to the point of sentiment analysis using a deep neural network. What is a DNN? So the DNN, before going to DNN, a neural network is a simulation of a human brain. So how our neurons are connected in our brain, in similar way, these simulated neurons are connected in the network to process some information. So deep neural network means it's wide and deep. Okay, wide means it is consists of set of several layers. The information will flow through several layers, and finally, it's a wide and deep network. Okay, number of neurons are also more. So here it's a computation model, right? So for that particular model, we can't give the text as input. We need to convert the text into some numerical form. So how to convert the text into numerical form? For that purpose, we have a concept called word embedding. In word embedding, the text is converted, the word is converted into some numerical representation, some array of information, or we call that one as a vector. For this word embedding, we have pre-trained vector models called word2vector and GLOW. We have two pre-trained vectors called word2vector and GLOW. And after that, just 1 second. First, I would like to mention their names. GLOW is one model, and word2vector is another model. So these two are two word embedding models which are called pre-trained word embedding models. So if you give a sentence to this particular model, they are going to generate vectors. You need to give the dimension also for this vector generation. Okay. So next, coming to the point of modeling the layers of DNN, we have modeling the layers means what kind of layers we're going to have in DNN. So suppose initially it might have some we call this one as a sequential layer. Initially we're going to have one layer, and again from this layer to again one layer. So this will be the output classification. So what is this? What are this number of layers? Here I would like to give an analogy to understand how this deep neural network works. So initially, how we recognize a particular person without talking to the person initially. So how you can recognize me? Maybe you might listen to my voice, right? So initially you might listen to my voice and you remember that some name Usha, and with that voice, okay? At some point of time, you have come to our college, you see, you have seen me. Then you can understand that I appear in so and so manner, okay, with somewhat this much height, right? Or this much forehead or something. Some features you are going to remember. So in first layer, you are going to remember some information like voice or name. In second, okay, with that available information, next time you are going to study something more. Next time you are going to study something more. Suppose when you met me in one place, you can easily understand that it's me. You can easily recognize it's me. It's me, Usha. Okay, in that way, it's very easy to understand after learning for several times with available information. Okay, this is a sort of analogy. This is sort of analogy to understand how the deep neural network works. That means becoming familiar with the features, learning with available features in layer by layer manner. Okay, finally you are going to understand that this is so and so person. Okay, so how to train? I'm saying that you need to understand the features, right? So understanding means getting trained. So how to train the features and how to validate, okay, whether we understand in the right way or not. That's called validation, right? So in sentiment analysis using deep neural network model, you need to go through all these aspects. Okay, word embedding, modeling, next training, next validating. So finally, you will get this kind of a classification where you can see this much elements are positive, this much elements are negative, this much elements are neutral. So this is the way of conclusion. Okay. Coming to the next slide. I told you, right, there will be certain words, right? So each word is converted into vector. Here you can see this vector belongs to the first word. This vector belongs to the second word. This vector belongs to the WN word. So these are the vectors. So with those vectors, we are training the deep neural network model. So if I say the deep neural network, so what kind of neural networks I might choose? So I might choose the CNN, RNN, convolutional neural network, recurrent neural network, hybrid neural network. So in general, the convolutional neural network is going to be used when there is a feature extraction process. And RNN is most suitable neural network model for text analysis. And hybrid means a combination of CNN and RNN also works for sometimes. It depending on the application, what kind of data you have. Okay, coming to the point of modeling the layers of this DNN. So you have the package Keras API, Keras API-C, Keras API, and Keras.layers. If you use this, if you import this Keras.layers, you will get all this input layer, dense layer, and LSTM, RNN, CNN, all these names. Okay. That means you can add the layers one by one. Here you can add one layer, here you can add another layer, here you can add another layer. Like that you can add. Okay. So, and what is the input layer? What is input? How many number of hidden layers can be kept? And what are the output layers? And what's the learning rate of this network? And next come to the point of hyperparameter selection. What is hyperparameter selection? So you received one neural network. Okay, you model something. Okay, but how many number of times you need to train the network? For example, I gave you one paragraph and I ask you to by heart that. So how many times a student can by heart otherwise? I select one group of students, five 5 people. And how many times you need to by heart to understand the paragraph and to deliver it as same. So one person might take 2 times, one person might take 1 time, one person might take 5 times. It depends, right? Depending on the model in his brain, right? Similarly, here also we need to model our network. Okay, how many times we need to train, which is called epoch. How many times we need to train? Okay, so the total input cannot be given as it is at a time. Okay, so we need to divide it into some batches. So batch size is another parameter. And there is an optimizer called optimizer. Next point is optimizer. What kind of optimizer we need to use? There are 2 types of optimizers. Adam, not only 2, I'm just giving here 2 names, RMS prop. So there are many optimizers which sets this alpha, beta 1, beta 2, the learning parameters, alpha, beta 1, beta 2. Okay, so these are hyperparameter selection. So here, whether we got the right classification or not, whether this model is set it right or not, whether this model is fit, we call that one as a fit in the model, whether this model fitted right or not. So how to identify that? What is the combination of hyperparameter to get best fit? So this is going to be identified using the grid search method. So grid search method. So grid search CV is present in sklearn package. If we implement that, it is going to identify the best combination to get best fit for the model. Okay. So once you got this best fit, once you got this fit, you need to evaluate the model. So evaluate. So evaluate using metrics like precision, recall. These are the evaluation metrics, right? Recall, F1 score, or confusion matrix otherwise. So these methods are present in sklearn. Okay, all these methods are present in the sklearn. So in this way, we need to proceed for modeling the deep neural network, and after that, how to fit the model and how to test the model. Okay, before going to fit the model, once we configure the layer architecture, then we need to see whether it is a correct fit or not, right? So for that, we need to go through this training and validation procedures. So if we consider the training the data set, suppose if the data is not balanced, sorry, the data is not balanced, then it brings the data bias. What is meant by data unbalanced? Suppose if in total 400, able to erase, sorry. The total for 400 samples, if only 200 samples related to the positive class, then it's really unbalanced data, right? It's really unbalanced data, right? So if that is the case, then we don't get the proper training for the model. And there is one more point called underfitting, overfitting. What is this underfitting and overfitting, and how to overcome that? Just go through this. If you observe this curve, so here you can see the data points. Suppose this is our focus point. Okay, if the data points fall in the focus, then It's having low bias, don't have bias, simple. What is variance among the points? The points are together, right? There is less variance. There is no variance even. It's very little bit variance. Okay. If you observe here, the bias is somewhat high when compared with the previous one, but variance is high because the points are very dispersed. They fall in dispersed way. If you consider the third one, see, if there are two classes, okay, we need to classify. We need to classify the model. So in this context, all the points should fall in this class. Suppose this is class 1. I'm talking about the class 1 focus. The point should fall here. It's the best example. Right here, there is no bias, no variance. All points fall together. Okay. But here they are dispersed. That means variance is high. Here, they are out of focus even. Our focus is here and these points are outside the boundary. That means high bias. But there is no variance. There is very less variance. Points are together. Okay. Here, if you observe that it's a high bias as well as high variance. The cross is merged in the dark circle, dark line. You observe that. Okay, here there are some points. These are some points. Okay, so it is high bias and high variance. We need to avoid this sort of thing. We need to avoid this sort of thing. Okay, so if you observe, so this high bias leads to underfitting. Okay, we can't fit some points. You observe this, and high variance leads to overfit. Overfit means every point is going to fall in that range. It's lower generalized way. You observe the straight line here. It's underfitting, and here appropriate fitting, and here overfitting. So we need to follow this sort of thing. Okay. So how to avoid this overfitting or underfitting? So there are some strategies. One is k-fold cross-validation method, which can be applied using this sklearn model selection, and data augmentation. What is data augmentation? That means that we don't have enough data to train the model. So we can improve data. So when we are talking about text analytics, we need to improve the data. We need to see how it is going to run on large data sets. We need to change the data sets, and let's see what is going to happen to the model. We need to improve the data sets. For images, there is no problem because we can for images it is very simple. We can rescale or we can reverse. We can transform the image and generate multiple images from same image. That's one strategy for data augmentation in image processing. For text analytics, somewhat difficult to augment. Okay, and increase the complexity of the model. Increase the complexity of the model. What does it mean? Because the model should not be too generalized one. We need to improve the layers. We need to improve. That means we need to improve the learning rate also. Compile time of the model. What we say is compile time of the model by improving the layer architecture. Next, add dropout. All times, the total input cannot be trained with the model. There might be some unnecessary fields of the input, which are too complex, which makes the problem too complex. So we can drop those elements. For that particular thing, we have a dropout parameter in dropout parameter in the layer architecture. That's also available in the Keras layer architecture. Okay, we can add the dropout. We can add the dropout. So this is the way to overcome the underfitting as well as overfitting. So every time it won't work, we need to check. See, we need to check. So how to check this? You need to plot the train and test curves. You need to plot the train and test curve. Sorry, just 1 second. I need to connect the battery here. Just 1 second. So in this way, we need to train and validate the deep neural network model. So once we got this training and validation, we need to observe the training and validation curves, testing curves of this neural network model. Then only we'll get to know whether it is overfitted or underfitted. Otherwise, we can't determine. Even that the model got 90% accuracy or 99.9 accuracy, it won't determine the actual model performance. Okay, we need to observe the training and test curves. We need to also observe the confusion matrix, precision, recall, and F1 score, which is possible by importing this sklearn and using the methods of the respective in the Python. Okay. So once we design the model, once we design this model, we need to train the model and test the model and evaluate the model. Then only we can understand, we can get the correct classification. Okay. So initially I explained one processor, k-fold cross validation. I mentioned one name called k-fold cross validation, right? Avoid this overfitting, underfitting. So what is k-fold cross validation? In k-fold cross validation, total, suppose if the data set consists of some 1400 rows and the classes are 2, positive, negative. Suppose those two are 2 classes. So if the total data set is divided into some k groups, maybe I can take some 1400 or 1500, I can take 3 into 5, 3 into 500. Okay, some k set of groups. And by taking one single group, one group as training data set and the remaining as validation, it's going to proceed. Similarly, it is going to be applied to all the groups without any bias. So it might sort out the problem of overfitting, underfitting, and also the bias problem. Okay. Because in the initial case, initially we try to divide the total data set into some 80-20%, right? Training is 80, testing is 20, or training is 60, testing is 40. So that kind of concept may not work here. Because it's a huge data set, the classes might follow below the below this 80. It might not consist of the previous class. That means the data will be unbiased if we go to this 80-20 or 60-40% to divide the train and test data sets. Hence we follow the k-fold cross validation method, so that randomly it's going to create the train and test data sets. That improves the model. So even if the model is perfect, if we have this bias or overfitting, underfitting strategies lies in the model, then it won't perform in a right way, or we don't get the right accuracy. So initially we need to set the pre-processing strategies in the right way, and after that we need to train in the right way. Then the model can be evaluated in an easy manner. Next, how to develop this? how to develop the solutions for sentiment analysis using deep learning. What kind of environments I have chosen here is PyCharm IDE and Jupyter Notebook, Anaconda distribution, Business Spider compiler, and MATLAB 2019B. All these environments are suitable to develop the programs using this machine learning, deep learning. As coming to the point of visualization, mostly we prefer this Python matplotlib pyplot, so which consists of all types of plots. Like this is called word cloud. Okay, this is one sort of plot where we can see, suppose if all these called various appliances, okay, suppose Sunday, suppose 1 to 30, okay, you observe that, you just think that is 1 to 30, and on day 1 what kind of appliance we use, what kind of things we do on second day, third day, what kind of things we do at the end of this month. So like that, activities. Okay, and this is a bar chart we are familiar with. There are pie charts and various bubble plots, box plots, different types of plots for different applications. So depending on the type of application, we choose the visualization method. Here it's a scatter plot. Okay. In scatter plot, we can also see the points. We can also see the words also, because I'm talking about the text analytics. We can also see the words. It's for a statistical information representation. Either pie or bar chart we can use. So here the scatter plot in this case represents how near the sentences together, how the near the words are. Okay. So here also NLP, here this word cloud, you can see in many places. This is called word cloud. So here NLP is the most frequent term that is used in the given data. Okay, so that's why NLP is at the center and it is having the big size. Okay, and naturally is almost many times occurred with NLP. So that's why natural is also near to the NLP, and it is also big in size, and language is also near to that. Okay. So after that, what are various challenges we can see in this text analytics area? So till now we had discussed the English language, right, and how to apply the sentiment analysis. But there are many sort of applications, many types of data, and where the analysis is required, right? Promote data quality and veracity, different types of data. Processing also suitable. Here I have taken only text. Next, and in this text also there are various types of text. And establish a contextualizing data structure. So if you observe, nowadays people started developing the sentiment analysis models based on the context. Suppose if I'm talking about a specific market where the mobile is the main product, the context is different. The words that what we use to communicate a mobile features is different, right? That cannot be suitable. Suppose if I'm talking about the processing speed, which won't be useful when we're talking about a soap, when we're talking about any other product. Hence, depending on the context, people started modeling the sentiment analysis. So establishing contextualizing data structures. Okay, we started like that, right? Based on domain, based on the context. Then the structures also changes. Suppose nowadays people started using the graph data structures to represent the domain models, and we can also use different types of data structures to represent the models. So what data structure is suitable for what context? So that is also one way. So analyzing multilingual data. So analyzing multilingual data means different types of data combination. Suppose if you see the Twitter, if you just use one filter called lockdown or COVID, okay, you will get lot of tweets. But how to analyze that? The tweet contains many languages. The tweets are in many languages, written in many languages, or sometimes a combination of Telugu, English, or Hindi, Telugu. Some different combinations also exist. The how to understand that. So that kind of analysis is also is a challenge. And next thing is we have packages, tools related to the English language. Suppose like to remove the stop words, to identify the POS tagging, parts of speech, noun, pronoun, to identify the noun, pronoun, verb, kind of things. We have different methods in NLTK. And similarly, there should be some packages that should be developed for Telugu, Sanskrit, Tamil. Already there is one Stanford NLP package that is also very helpful in identifying those things. Even that is there, that it needs some improvement. So these are the various challenges, and these are the references I have taken. So Peter Flash book on machine learning, and there's a Kaggle website and machine learning mastery. So all these are very useful references in understanding the text analytics as well as in understanding the implementation part related to the text analytics. So this is a disclaimer, and thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. That was really an elaborated and in-depth travel in the field of text analysis. Thank you so much once again. And dear participants, the next session would start at 3 p.m. and on the same link. Please be online. Please stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.